With Liquor Barn, you can shop your favorite bourbon, that perfect bottle of wine, or discover something new. To place an order for pickup or delivery, download the Liquor Barn app, visit liquorbarn.com, or call your nearest Liquor Barn location. Follow us on social media and subscribe to our email list for all the latest news on products, promotions, and events. Liquor Barn, where Kentuckians go to celebrate life. Cheers!
Limestone Farms bourbons are like a secret portal to a world of rich flavors where high proof meets smooth satisfaction. Every barrel is meticulously crafted and blended with a specific message in mind. Experience clean delineated flavor profiles that will have you engaged from the first sip to the final drop, making your palate beg for just one more taste. Limestone Farms, bringing heritage home.
We could tell you that Penelope Bourbon's 4-grain straight bourbon whiskey is a multiple double gold winner at SIP Awards, or that Wine Enthusiast named it a Best Buy, or that Tasting Table named it one of the 12 best small batch bourbons under $40. But really, all you need to know about Penelope 4-grain is that it aims to please. Whether you enjoy it neat or mixed in your favorite cocktail, Penelope 4-grain is a staple in every well-stocked bar. Pick up your bottle at penelopebourbon.com.
Welcome to the Bourbon Life Podcast, your source for all things bourbon. Join your hosts, Mark and Matt, as they drink and review bourbons, share news about upcoming events, interview the who's who in the bourbon world, and, most importantly, bring you along for the fun of living the bourbon life. Now, here's your hosts, Mark and Matt.
All right, everybody, welcome back for another episode of the Bourbon Life Podcast. I'm your host, Mark, and with me here tonight in the Bourbon Life Studios, it is my good friend, my co-host, Matt. Matt, how you doing out there, man?
Mark, I am doing great out here. How are you doing over there, in there, around there, there?
I'm doing great. I've got the light back on in honor of the UK victory last night over Duke. So I'm flying the blue. For anybody out there that's a Duke fan, I'm not going to say I'm sorry. I'm thrilled about that game. Anyway, I don't want to get off on basketball, but yes, flying the blue light, having a great time tonight. Got a great guest, man. I'm so excited about this show. It's been too long since we've had her on, so I'm happy to get her back on here talking about a great brand. It's going to be a lot of fun tonight. But we are the Bourbon Life Podcast presented by Liquor Barn. We appreciate their support. We appreciate the support of all of our sponsors. We couldn't bring you this show each week with our great guests like we do without their support. So thank you to all of our sponsors. Matt, with that said, man, let's just jump into it. Tell everybody who we have with us tonight.
Back on episode 144, November 2022, as Mark clued us in, 2 years and 2 days ago from today, we had this guest on, and she is one of our favorite people. We're absolutely ecstatic to have her back on again. She is the master blender at EJ Curley, Miss Ashley Barnes. Ashley, welcome on back to the Bourbon Life Podcast.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be back. I can't believe it's been 2 years, almost to the day.
I went back and listened to that episode, and it took me a while to find it because I had it in my head. It was last year, and I'm like, why can't I find this episode? And then I was like, wait a second. It was in 2022.
Wow. Episode 144. Yeah. What episode number is this?
This is 240. I thought it was 250, but it was 249, which is still pretty stellar. I'm excited about that. But yeah, so it's been too long, Ashley. Our apologies for not having you on sooner.
That's okay. I kind of stayed low last year, seeing how I had a baby in March. So about this time, I was getting pretty miserable.
Yeah, and he is an adorable little guy. If anybody follows you on Instagram, they know all the great pictures of you and your sons. One of them is quite the almost model now. Your older son is great. But yeah, I'd get a kick, and my wife absolutely loves following you and seeing the pictures of you. Every time I get to go see you somewhere, she's like, "Will her boys be there? Will the boys be there? Did I get to go see them?"
Yeah, I mean, they have a bigger following than I do. I mean, people don't follow me for whiskey; they follow me for them.
for the boys. Yeah.
Your oldest son is like one of my heroes. I remember you telling me the story that he was playing soccer because he was too young to be on the bass fishing team yet, but that was that was his big goal. Is that still true?
Still true to this day.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. He's something else.
Now we can add that he did the Little Miss and Mr. Competition at the fair this year. And when they asked him in the interview, when he made top 10, they said, what would you do if you could change the rules in your house, if you made the rules? And he said he would turn the house into Bass Pro. So
nice. I like that.
He's added a level, and then he won the Little Miss and Mr., and he has really enjoyed that. His reign as Little Mr. Mercer County.
Ashley, I'll tell you, the video that you posted of him, he's got that big belt buckle on. He's got that cowboy hat on, and he just walks up there and tips that hat to everybody. And it's just like, yeah, check me out. I mean, he's just like, oh my God, it's awesome. Yeah, they're great. So
they're more famous. They're more famous than me.
Well, I don't believe that, because we were talking off camera. You are absolutely one of my favorite people. And I say that about several people that we've had on the show, and I mean it. But you are just the one person that I always love to see. And you're always just so kind. You've helped me so much in the past too. We won't even go into all that. But when I was studying for the Master of Bourbon and everything, I mean, you're so gracious with your time and your ability to help people. And I think that just speaks volumes about who you are. And you're just so humble about what you do. But anyway, I don't want to, embarrass you further, but
thank you.
You're welcome. But we're thrilled to have you. Yeah, we're thrilled to have you back on the show. But we got this show, we're going to focus on the EJ Curley, which you're the master blender of. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And we've got poured up in this first round, the small batch. So I'll let you, if you want to, Ashley, tell everybody about what we're drinking tonight.
So we are starting off with our EJ Curley small batch. And what's really cool about this is I'm a native Kentuckian. I was born and raised here in Kentucky, South Central Kentucky at that. And a little tiny town that honestly the county is still dry. So getting into this industry was definitely not something I'd ever thought I would do. But we can talk about my background in a minute, because I want to at least get to start smelling this thing. So EJ Curley is a heritage brand. EJ was distilling at the same time as E.H. Taylor, and in the same volumes and capacity. We actually have record of him doing a barrel sale in 1901 for 8,600 barrels. So equivalent that to today's money is about $19 million. Wow. This guy was moving and shaking, doing things that other people were not doing. He was very forward thinking. And he was also the first person to ever coin the term bluegrass in commerce. And we actually have all the patents and everything for that. So before Kentucky was ever the bluegrass state, he started using it for bluegrass bourbon and bluegrass distillers. And several of his distilleries were actually still operational up until the 1980s. He actually sold everything off. And I think he passed away in Monte Carlo. And I don't blame him. I see prohibition on the horizon. I'm going to sell everything, make all this money, and go live the life of luxury and just do whatever I want. And I do not blame him for that. But I do get to honor his innovation and creativity. So getting to revive a heritage brand as a native Kentuckian is just something that I never thought I would get to do, especially once I left Big Bourbon and was doing my own thing. I just assumed we would always be doing new brands, new ideas. So I was very honored to create something that what I like to call a house bourbon. And this is what you keep at home. It's I need to pick up a quick birthday present. I know this is going to be good. I know that I can keep it at home. If I want a cocktail, it's going to be great. If I want a neat pour, it's going to be a solid pour. I can add an ice cube. It's just so versatile and does all the things. And that was a big ask of myself in creating this product, to fit the label. And I really feel like I hit the nail on the head with this. It's approachable for a new bourbon drinker, but it's complex and carries its weight even at 95 proof for an experienced drinker. And we're seeing that when we're out tasting this and we get people to try it. They're like, wow, I don't normally drink 95 proof. I like the barrel strength. but this carries its weight. It's complex, and it starts off right on the nose.
Yep.
Yeah, I see you both smelling. You get the rich bourbon, the caramels and vanillas, but you get those nice dried fruits, like sweet dried cherries, little fig in there.
Oh yeah.
Some
Definitely.
honeysuckle, but then it has like an underlaying of floral, and I just feel like that's a very inviting profile. If you're new to bourbon, you want to dip your toes in, it's inviting. It's not offensive. It's not like, hey, I'm going to burn you up. I'm barrel strength. But it's super nice.
Yeah. And I remember, I think the last time we had you on, we were drinking this. And I think Matt and I both were like, how old is it? Because we thought it nosed like an older whiskey. And I think you said like between 4 and 5. Is that right? Somewhere around there?
It is 4 to 5 years old. This leans a little more on the 4-year-old side, but it can go up to 5 years. But absolutely, and we'll get to the single barrel in a minute, but that tends to be a common statement, is it doesn't drink young as well.
Well, Matt, look at that, man. Ashley stepped right up and gave the nosy notes and took that heat right off of you, man.
No kidding. This episode is going to be a breeze. If you all need me, I'll just be over here in the background.
Just sit over there. We'll flip the fireplace on for you, man. You just hang out there.
I already did, man. I got my Tootsies are roast in here. This is great. Nose has already been taken care of. But Ashley, I agree with everything that you say on this. It's got really great quintessential Kentucky bourbon notes. There's a lot of those caramels, vanillas. The oak really shines through, and it's not overly tannic, certainly not overly oaky on the nose. But I pick up like some sweetness, almost like a biscotti almond cracker, like like peanut brittle, some sort of a like baked roasted sweetness in there as well. But those floral notes, kind of that honeysuckle, some of those springtime flavors as well, really add that brightness, that complexity. Comes through with like some nougat or almost like a touch of like a little more vanilla on the end. But those light floral notes really do brighten this up, make it really complex, and it's just an absolutely lovely product.
Yeah.
I can't add anything else between the two, between your master palate and Matt's master palate. You know, I'm the master of bourbon, but I pale in comparison to what you guys have. So I don't have anything to add to that other than it noses absolutely delicious. I love it. It noses older to me than a 4 or 5-year-old bourbon. So that's just a testament to your skills and your abilities. And it's fun because I've had the opportunity to kind of watch you work sometimes. I've come out there and you've tried to help me understand nosing better when I was doing the Master of Bourbon stuff. And it was just amazing to watch you pick things out and just start saying, okay, and this has this and this has this. And we look to maybe blend these types of things together to, you want to layer it, you want to have this. And I'm just like, what? I mean, it's amazing to me, but I mean, that's a skill. You're kind of born with that to some extent. I mean, I know you've honed it. So kind of talk about your background and your history and how that's all come about, that you've gotten to this level where you've developed this amazing skill and ability.
So I did not know anything about this industry coming into it. Like I said, the town I grew up in was dry. My dad was a cop. So my introduction to any kind of bourbon or whiskey was cough syrup in our house. So that was like Wild Turkey or Jack Daniels. So he sometimes likes to take credit for my current career path.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Yeah. Thanks, Dad.
he likes to give a dig sometimes. But I was actually working in pharmaceuticals in the quality control area. And let me tell you, it was not fun being a chemist by trade, by education. I was in a room, a cinder block room with no windows, working third shift. It was not pleasant. I was working with chemicals and levels that were way beyond lethal. So I got a call from a headhunter one day, and I like to add this tidbit because I think it's important, especially in Kentucky. I did not know that headhunters were real. and be it just from being a rural area, being a small area, I did not know this was a thing. That was, people had that job to reach out and find people for these other jobs. I'm so blessed and so grateful that they did, because they're like, hey, would you be interested in a quality position at a distillery? They didn't tell me where. I was like, booze or drugs, second shift, third shift, why not? Maybe they'll have windows in the lab. And that ended up being Buffalo Trace. And it was really amazing for me to go there and see it. It was a multi-step interview. And one of my interviews was actually a tasting interview. And that's where we really started to notice I could taste things a little differently than others. And I didn't know what I was tasting. One of the tests was a triangle test. It was 3 vodkas. One of the vodkas had like 2 drops of gin in it. I'd never had gin in my life. I didn't know what it was. So I thought I got the question wrong by saying something's wrong with this glass. I don't know what it is, but it's different. And actually, when I left the interview, I was on the phone with my mom, like boo-hooing, because I was like, man, this would be so fun. This is way better than pharmaceuticals. When they called and offered me the position, I was like, no, you actually did really good in this. But also, we used spittoons in that interview. Another thing, I had no clue how to properly be professional and use a spittoon in front of potential bosses.
Right. Sure.
I mean, I had taken classes because I was like, I know I've never been exposed. I want to be a professional. So I'd taken classes on how to interview. Anyways, that doesn't help you with using spittoons in front of bosses.
Yeah.
Just in case
you missed that
wondering.
day. You missed the day where they had the spittoon section, right?
I mean, do you get like bonus points if it goes pa-ting? Yeah. I mean, I grew up watching Westerns, so there was always a ting when you spit in it.
Yeah. Yeah. Across the room, right? You gotta
I'm more of a drool kind of person. So anyways, I got the job, obviously, and it was amazing. I learned so much from the entire crew there. Chris Fletcher is actually the gentleman that hired me. He's still a great guy and a friend. And then I worked with, of course, Drew Mabel there in Harlan.
Yeah.
And, I ran, of course, the analytical equipment, and Drew started teaching me blending, and I truly fell in love with it. It was more classical style, lots of math, lots of science, all the things kind of backing into the profiles. But I obviously got to work on some really cool projects produced by Buffalo Trace. And then I was headhunted again from there into Four Roses, where Brent Elliott hired me in, and he and I were the quality team. We were the A team for Four Roses for several years. And again, wonderful time. I spent almost 5 years at Four Roses doing all the tasting, blending with Brent. I worked with Jim, Al.
Wow.
Learned from so many legends in this industry. And everybody has their own unique way that they approach a problem, they approach a blend, how to maintain a profile. And I think I was very fortunate to learn from so many amazing individuals to pick up little bits and pieces from each one. And then I took that and kind of did my own. Of course, I was running the analytical equipment in the background. So everything from HPLCs to mass spec to GCs, I was doing the stuff.
Yeah.
And it was kind of there that I started, if I tasted something, I wanted to figure out what it was and run the test and identify it. Okay, what is it? What's the precursor to it? When does it come along in maturation? When can I identify it? And learned a whole slew of base skills from that.
And I think one thing that's really cool, Ashley, that I learned about you was that you worked on those limited edition small batches, and that year after year is one of the bottles that I'll always work hard to track down, because it has always been one of my favorite expressions, one of my favorite releases, and it is limited. It's hard to find. But when I found out that you were part of that, a big part of that, it was just like, damn, and it's like, it blows my mind that a lot of people didn't know your name, still probably don't know your name yet. But it's the talent level that you have is just, it's something that people need to know about. So that's why we do this. So people know
exactly
who Ashley Barnes is. But yeah, when I learned that you were behind making what is one of my absolute favorite bourbons year after year, I was like, wow, that's very, very cool. So great experience though at Four Roses, right? Great people and great experience.
Yeah, absolutely. It was wonderful. And I think it's funny you mentioned the limited editions, because kind of my style when I'm approaching a blend now, like to create something, is very similar to how we approach limited editions at that time, and, start to finish.
Yeah.
Have some barrels, some lots and batches that we had set aside, like, okay, this will make a really good limited. It's going to bring XYZ to the table for the blend.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of do the same thing now. Little different, because I used to work with a lot of craft distilleries and non-producing brands. But when I was at Four Roses, actually my business partner came through my lab on a tour with a group of female managers from Benny's out of Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's funny, I was at Benny's last week before, and we were kind of joking on their podcast that they started it all, because it was a group from Benny's where Monica came through my lab and started the whole thing. Because then she put my name in the hat to be a whiskey judge, and she and I kindled a friendship, and long story short, we started a consultancy. I left Four Roses, started working with craft distillers, and we've now even reduced, we don't really consult anymore, and we only work with brands that we've been with since the very beginning, since idolation. She brokers bulk whiskey, does business, financial, big picture planning, which has to happen for me to be able to do my job and to continue to do my job. And I think that's what's made us so successful in what we've been doing, is we complement each other so well. And, she's become one of my dearest friends. We joke that we're married at this point, because we've been through a lot over the years.
No doubt. And I think we're at the end of round one. So because I want to talk to you just briefly about your new business and what you guys do. But I think maybe we can jump back into that in the second round and kind of just touch on that before we start talking about EJ Curley, the brand itself. And we'll talk about the palate and the finish on this small batch as well in that second round. So why don't we go ahead and just take a quick break, get a word from our sponsors, and we'll come back with more with Ashley Barnes, Master Blender with EJ Curley, in just a minute.
Three Chord's line of whiskeys embody the spirit of creativity. The whiskey is a true collaboration between producer and composer Neil Giraldo and master blender distiller Ari Sussman. The Three Chord team of expert blenders, coopers, and sensory professionals have developed a multi-step process they called Perfectly Tuned Taste. This process begins by carefully selecting the finest bourbon and rye whiskeys from Kentucky, Tennessee, and Indiana, and then blending them together. Find out more about the whiskeys and distribution in your area at www.threechordbourbon.com.
Welcome to Old Dominick Distillery, a family-owned craft distillery nestled in the heart of downtown Memphis. Founded by descendants of Domenico Canali, a pioneering Sicilian immigrant who made Memphis his home in the late 1800s, Old Dominick is steeped in history and tradition. Old Dominick prides itself on offering a diverse selection of whiskeys to satisfy every taste. Whether you're a seasoned connoisseur or a curious newcomer, you'll find something to love, including an 85-proof Tennessee whiskey, bonded Tennessee whiskey, a single-barrel Tennessee whiskey, a 90.1 proof bourbon, and coming this fall, a cask-strength bourbon. Each bottle of Old Dominick whiskey is crafted with care, featuring unique mash bills that offer a variety of high and low proofs. This dedication to quality ensures there's a perfect pour for every whiskey enthusiast. Old Dominick whiskeys are proudly distributed in several states, including Tennessee, Kentucky, Missouri, Georgia, Arkansas, Illinois, and Mississippi. Can't find us locally? No problem. You can conveniently purchase our products online and have them delivered straight to your doorstep. Ready to explore the world of Old Dominick? Visit our website at olddominick.com to learn more about our history, discover our products, and find a retailer near you. All right, everybody, welcome back for round two of the Bourbon Life Podcast. I'm your host, Mark, and with me here tonight, live in the Bourbon Life Studios, otherwise known as my basement, it is my good friend, my bourbon drinking buddy, my co-host, Matt. Matt, how you doing out there in the fireplace room?
Mark, I am great. It is living up to its name. Got the fire roaring here. Just settling in for a nice long conversation. How are you doing over there? Mission Control, Houston, everything good?
Everything is great, man. Running smooth, having a great show. Love talking to our guest. I just having a great time, and so happy to have her back on the show, man. So this is drinking some great whiskey, and we're going to have a great round, learn about the brand itself, which is going to be a lot of fun. So with that said, though, we are the Bourbon Life Podcast presented by Liquor Barn. We appreciate their support and the support of all of our sponsors. We could not bring you the show each week without all of our sponsors, so thank you to all of them. Matt, with that said, I want to remind everybody who we have with us tonight on the show.
Absolutely. Ashley Barnes is the master blender at EJ Curley. She was the star of episode 144. And now this morning, this afternoon, this evening, whenever it is you're getting your Bourbon Life fix for episode 249, we have brought her back on to chat with you all. Ashley, welcome on back to the Bourbon Life Podcast.
Always great to chat with you guys, some of my favorite people in this industry. And always fun and a great conversation. So glad to be back. I can't believe it's been 2 years. That's still just shocking.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that every time.
No, but it's funny because I see you. We run into each other quite often, it seems like, here or there, wherever. And it just seems like it just, I don't know. It's just like in my mind, it's like, oh, it hasn't been that long. And then when I actually, like I said today, I started looking back to the show thinking it was last year, and no, 2 years ago. So wow, we're going to have to make this like a every 6 month thing to have Ashley on the show and talk about what's going on. So definitely. Yeah. So when we closed out round one, we were talking about you and Monica, your partner in crime there, and the new business, what you guys are doing now. It's called the Blending House. You want to tell everybody a little bit about what you guys are doing there and how that works?
Yeah. So the Blending House is, honestly, that was something Monica and I dreamed up day one. We wanted to eventually not travel everywhere and not have to rely on others for bottling and blending, and obviously contract storage and maturation with brands that were non-producing. So we partnered a joint venture with Cutter Construction, also very well known for K-Racks, which are awesome. And so we have a facility called the Blending House. We will have 7 rick houses when it's all said and done on a site in Shelbyville, Kentucky. And we currently have, I think, 4 completed and just over 50,000 barrels on site currently.
Wow.
Our blending facility is almost completely done construction-wise. We're starting to receive all our tanks and things. All our tanks got set the other day, and we're starting our piping. Very exciting times. My bottling line's getting delivered, I think this week, maybe next. No, this week, maybe. And just, it's a dream come true. So brands like EJ Curley, Lucky 7, Two Worlds Whiskey, some of our brands that we've been with for so long are going to have a home and a place where our barrels will all be rested there. The entire facility is my design. So taking the things that I've learned from my experiences with Buffalo Trace, Four Roses, contract facilities all over the world. I've been to bottling facilities in Scotland, in Japan, of course, here in the US, and, kind of if I was going to ever do this myself, here's how I would do it. I get to do that now. And that's what I've put into the Blending House design. And I've been able to bring in some amazing people that I've met along the way that were wonderful enough to believe in me and Monica. And we brought Matt King actually up from Tennessee, formerly with Leaper's Fork Distillery. And he has been an absolute gem. He'll be another great guy for you guys to talk to on here. So knowledgeable about so many things. And he is just killing it up there. Moved his family to Shelbyville, and he has been my right hand in helping get this done. So yeah.
That's awesome. So now, the brands, they're all NDPs, right? So nobody's distilling their own juice, correct?
Yes and no. So a little tidbit is that we will be contract distilling. Actually just contract distilled 1,000 barrels of Lucky 7 last month.
So guys, let's jump back over to the whiskey and let's talk about the palate and the finish on this one. Ashley, if you want to give your notes, that's great, because Matt's going to welcome the reprieve, because I always throw it to him. So I'll just throw it to you, and
I'm going to throw it to him. I took the nose off.
All right.
There you go, Matt.
You start off, Matt.
You're on.
All right, I will kick it off. I remember when we had this in 2022. This turned out being one of the favorite things that I drank all of 2022, and we had it late in November of that year. But the palate on this, to me, I get a lot of like a honey roast nut flavor right up front. There's like that Kentucky kind of like nutty, sweet honey, a little bit of the oak influence, then definitely leans toward like a vanilla or a nougat, or like almost like a taffy type, kind of this just like thick, really vanilla type flavor and note to it. That's really, really nice. As the palate starts rounding out, there's some tart apple that comes through. There's like some bright fruit notes that I pick up before leading into like a really nice caramel cinnamon finish. It's just a really, really beautifully done product. Really great drinking whiskey, and just as good as I remembered.
Yeah, I mean, kind of the same. You hit all the notes. I would call it more like kind of a bit of honey.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's like a bit of honey, and it kind of coats the palate. I mean, even at 95 proof, it just has such viscosity.
Yeah.
And then it rounds out, comes in with some kind of surprises you with a little green apple tartness, and rounds off with maybe a little pipe tobacco even on that finish.
Yeah, that finish, I love it. Can't add much. The cinnamon that stands out to me with that sweetness. I think I've talked about that the first show that we did. It's just that the sweetness and then spicy, and then sweetness and spicy. It kind of goes back and forth. But yeah, I really like it.
High rye.
It's high rye.
Yeah, it doesn't drink like your standard high rye.
Yeah.
But it is high rye. It's around 21%.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm a fan, obviously. So is Matt. Sounds
absolutely.
Like.
It's a house bourbon, and you get so faithful. Yeah. You know it's going to be good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about some uses for it in the third round. We're going to jump in and talk a little bit about what else you can do besides drinking it neat in your Glencairn. What else you can do with the EJ Curley products. So let's talk about the brand itself, because you mentioned earlier, that EJ Curley is actually was a person. So there's a ton of history that goes to this, and the brand has been resurrected. So can you kind of share the history, a little bit more of that history of the brand, and then the actual process and the decision to resurrect this and relaunch it?
Yeah, I can share some. Hopefully I don't butcher it in my exhausted state here. I should have brought up some cheat sheets over here and be like, I know all these facts by heart.
Just tell us what you know, Ashley. It's okay.
This is an honest podcast. So he was doing the things. He was moving and shaking. EJ Curley came over. He's an Irishman, came over during Civil War times and was stationed out at Fort Nelson.
Okay.
Camp Nelson, not Fort Nelson.
Camp Nelson.
Camp Nelson in Jessamine County. And actually, we do have access. We have been on the original site. There are some ruins, a nice little aquifer there, and it's beautiful. Right on the Kentucky River. It's, I think, 17 miles, unadulterated Palisades. I mean, just absolutely gorgeous. Wow. The wildlife, the nature trails. I think it would inspire anyone, but I could only imagine an Irishman, being like, what am I going to do? I bought and sold grain for this, for Camp Nelson, and we're not at war anymore. And what is an Irishman going to do on the Kentucky River with such an inspirational, beautiful area? Let's make some whiskey. And so he was known for things, like Curly Rye. And I think potentially, maybe eventually we'll do a rye. One of the things that I feel very passionately about is to honor EJ Curley specifically, but not to redo what he's already done. He made his mark. He did his things. I'm not going to distill his mash bills, but I will absolutely wholeheartedly celebrate him and nod to his innovation and creativity throughout any product that we release with EJ Curley.
And so, so this brand actually, was it back in April 22? Was that when it was released? The first?
It was 22 or 21 even. We launched and it kind of fell to the wayside. Our distributor had some stuff going on, and so we kind of did a relaunch. And so that's kind of what you're starting to see now is we really started doing a lot more marketing, push, PR. I actually started posting on social media. One of the things Monica and I did, and we both are very passionate about this, is that when we started consulting, we just wanted to make amazing whiskey and bourbon. We wanted to put out good product. We wanted to help craft distillers. We had all these amazing, passionate people doing great things, but then just you don't know what you don't know. So I was able to bring my knowledge from the big guys and help them learn some quality control practices and put in a few just basic staples to help them learn how to blend and create their brands so that they can then take over and confidently produce consistent products. And then, work myself out of a job and go to the next one, but it worked.
It works. It worked out, right?
It is.
Well, we are drinking. Go ahead.
I'm 100% a teach a man to fish instead of giving him that fish kind of a person.
I think that's great. You've tried to teach me how to nose, and it sticks for about a week, and then after that, Ashley, unfortunately, and it's not the teacher's fault. I can assure you, it's the student's fault. Unfortunately.
That just means we need to hang out more.
Yeah. That's exactly right. I agree. I'm happy to drive out and hang out in the blending house or hang out in your home blending studio there and learn some more, learn what I can learn. So we got something else poured up in the second round here. We're moving on to the single barrel. So you want to tell everybody about what we're drinking? Because we're both got the same single barrel here. So you want to tell everybody what we have on this?
So part of my process of blending, I think it's important to note, I look at every barrel. And it doesn't matter if I'm looking at 100 barrels or if I'm looking at 5 barrels. I'm going to evaluate each barrel independently and blindly. I do look at things at barrel strength, and that's just been developed over the years. I didn't always do that. But in that process, inevitably, you're going to come across a barrel that's like, man, that's good. It's not drinking its proof. That doesn't taste like, it's obviously barrel strength, but man, that's smooth. Or, wow, this has got some really unique fruit, or there's always something that's going to stand out. And so if I look at 100 barrels and there are only 3 barrels that kind of hit me in that manner, then we're only going to have 3 single barrels. So they may not always be available, but you can confidently know they're going to be good. I'm very selective on what I put out there. And so we have barrel 41. I know there are still some of those floating around, especially since I had one on my shelf.
We'll throw it to you for the nose because Matt went first.
Oh no, Mark! I thought this was your chance here. Come on,
no,
come on,
Stu. I never go first. I cannot. I can't go first. Vanilla, caramel, cherries, coconut. You don't want my nosing notes. It smells like bourbon. So
it's toasted coconut. Absolutely. This one I get a lot of.
I did get that one right.
Yeah, I get like some strawberry on it, like the dried strawberries, the Special K.
Oh, okay.
Kind of
well, my deficiencies with strawberries and wheated bourbons and pastries and everything. I'm awful with that, Ashley. I can't pick out anything like that. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, like I said, some strawberry, a little dried strawberry, but also some jammy notes in there. The richness of a jam versus a jelly really comes off on this barrel. Vanilla bean.
Mm-hmm. I got vanilla. See, there you go. Vanilla. I didn't say bean, but I got vanilla. So.
Yeah. And again, you get some floral. The more you sit here and nose, I'm getting some like morning glory on it. Maybe even a little magnolia or gardenia in there.
Wow. Now, to me, I get almost like an older note, almost like like a leather. I mean, I pick up almost a hint of leather, which leads me to think this is an older whiskey. Now, are these single barrels in that same age range as the small batch?
They are.
Okay. All right.
They usually tend to be a little more towards the 5-year range, but they absolutely are
Okay.
4 to 5.
Okay. Matt, what about you now? Unless, Ashley, if you had something else, I'm sorry. I keep cutting you off, and I'm sorry. I'm just so excited to have you on the show. So, sorry
All
about
good.
that.
All right, Matt, what are you getting?
It's got a really rich, full nose to it. There's a lot of body. I pick up, Ashley, you had mentioned sort of those jammy notes. I get like a lot of orchard fruit and that sweetness coming across this jam, almost like an apple butter type note with a little bit of the cinnamon. There's that definite, like to me, there's a lot of orchard fruit in it as well. Vanilla definitely certainly comes across. And again, I really like those kind of floral notes that really help to break up some of those thicker, really dominating notes on the nose. There's just like those light touches of like springtime grass or spring flowers in there that just help to brighten it up. It's really, really nice.
Yeah.
So, Ashley, I'm curious, because single barrels, you just talked about that process. You go through, you pick some out, you're like, hey, this is unique, this is different, this is going to work. With your small batches, you blend those? I mean, do you have like a barrel range that you generally go for in those small batches, or you shoot for like so many barrels, or does it just depend on the batch?
You know me so well. So I never do batches more than 20 barrels. Yeah. I designed an entire facility around a 20-barrel blend. And I do that for several reasons, especially with the smaller brands. It's worked well to maintain a consistency. My source could be multiple sources that I can maintain a really nice, consistent profile, no matter where my barrels came from, through blending techniques. And like I said, evaluating every barrel and being very strategic in how I pick those to use. But also, you usually get around 1,000 cases. And so production-wise, it makes it pretty easy for planning. Just it's a nice round number, but I personally really like that 20-barrel blend. And the biggest thing is consistency. So it is truly, truly a small batch. Actually, with EJ Curley, kind of a fun fact is a lot of the current small batches, we've got multiple of them out there, are even 10 barrels due to the facility we were bottling at and capacity of the tanks.
Wow. Okay. So with these single barrels, obviously you're going to get variations from barrel to barrel. Do you see a significant variation between those from time to time, or do they kind of run in the same? I mean, can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, they do. They absolutely vary. Some might be very spice forward, where it really highlights unique toasted spices or, rich leathery notes, where some are more fruit forward. Those barrels might, when they come to us, they look like, based on their locations, these have sat beside each other for the last 4 years. But they're totally different, just like siblings. They look the same, but they do not act the same. And
except for your sons, I think they look the same. Do they act the same? I'm just asking,
No. No. If one of them gets arrested, I already know which one it's going to be. And, and I love the uniqueness that they do absolutely look like twins, but they don't act the same. They're completely different. And single barrels are the same way.
Same way.
Ashley Ping does a lot of tastings for us, and she jokes that her second son is a single barrel because he is so unique and just special. I love Owen and he's going to run this country one day. He's just,
wow. Okay.
He's just one of those kids. You're like, you're going to do something one day. Right now you are a handful, but you are going to be great. And
that's funny.
So it's the same thing. Single barrels, they can vary. They look the same, but they don't always act the same. And, kind of a fun fact in that is a lot of times those single barrels don't they don't play with others as well when you're blending. So by being very selective and be like, hey, if you've got too many chiefs, not enough followers there, sometimes you just have to weed it out and build your team like a baseball team. You've got to have those individual players in those different roles to create a cohesive blend of skills to achieve achieve the win. Basketball's the same way. I probably should talk about that because UK is finally a basketball school again.
We're a basketball school again. Yes.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, you and me both. Well, I'll tell you what, why don't we we're at the end of round 2. So why don't we go ahead and take a quick break? Because we talked about the nose. We'll come back, talk about the palate and the finish in round 3. And we'll talk about some other fun stuff going on as well, especially here in Lexington with EJ Curley in round 3. So everybody just sit tight, and we'll be back in just a minute with more with Ashley Barnes, the Master Blender with EJ Curley, in just a minute. Visit the historic James E. Pepper Distillery, located in the vibrant Distillery District in downtown Lexington, Kentucky. Initially built in 1880 by Colonel James E. Pepper, one of the founding fathers of the bourbon industry, it operated until 1967 when it was shut down and abandoned for over 50 years. After a decade of historical research, the brand was relaunched and the distillery was rebuilt. Distilling resumed on-site in 2017 using the same historic bourbon recipe as when it closed in 1967. The distillery offers a selection of fine whiskeys for tasting and retail purchases, including the award-winning Decanter Bourbon. Intimate guided tours include time in the museum, an up-close look at the grain-to-glass process, and a complimentary tasting. Stop by for an old-fashioned cocktail and see why TripAdvisor ranks the Pepper Distillery as the 3rd best distillery in Kentucky and the #1 attraction in Lexington. Learn more at jamesepepper.com.
Hey there, I'm Carrie Van Winkle, founder of Pappy & Company, where we celebrate family heritage and Southern craftsmanship. Check out our curated collection of artisanal goods that embody the spirit of Kentucky. From our signature barrel-aged pepper sauce aged in Pappy Van Winkle bourbon barrels to our luxurious leather goods inspired by generations of tradition, each item reflects our commitment to quality and legacy. Our line of gourmet food items are thoughtfully selected to bring the taste of the South to your table. Indulge in what I can say is the best bourbon barrel-aged maple syrup on the planet. A perfect blend of buttery rich flavors that elevate any dish or cocktail. We're big fans of the Bourbon Life Podcast, and we're honored to share the legacy of our great-grandfather Pappy Van Winkle with all of you. So visit pappyco.com for 15% off your purchase with code BourbonLife15.
All right, everybody, welcome back for the 3rd and sadly final round of the Bourbon Life Podcast. I'm your host, Mark, and with me here tonight live in the Bourbon Life studios, it is my good friend, my bourbon drinking buddy, my co-host, Matt. Matt, how you doing out there,
Hey,
man?
Mark, I'm doing great out here. Always good to be back in the studios, getting another episode, the Bourbon Life Podcast put down on track here.
Yeah, man, we're all tired.
Right?
So,
what day is it?
We're just all talking about how tired we all are.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. What day is it? Yeah, where am I? What's going on, right? And I'm drinking whiskey on top of it. I'm drinking delicious bourbon on top of that. So nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely.
Well, that is a really good barrel.
If I say so myself, it's a great barrel. Yeah.
Whoever picked that did a good job.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, congratulations on that. So I will say we're the Bourbon Life Podcast presented by Liquor Barn. We appreciate their support and the support of all of our sponsors. Matt, with that said, you want to tell everybody again who our guest is tonight?
Absolutely. We are back with the person that did pick that barrel, Ms. Ashley Barnes, the master blender of EJ Curley. Ashley, welcome on back for our final round of the Bourbon Life Podcast.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me, guys. It's always a pleasure and so easy to talk to you all. We could stay here all night.
We really could. I mean, I want to come out there to your facility too. Mm-hmm. Not that we can hang out there all night or anything, but we'll come out there and check everything out and maybe record another episode out there. I think that would be a lot of fun to do. I
think we could knock Johnny and David off their throne easily.
Right? Yeah.
We could do it. We can do it. Well, just so you know, it's so delicious that I poured myself another pour because I already worked through the first pour, Ashley. So yeah. So here I sit with round 3. I'm having a round 3. I don't know where you guys are, but I'm on round 3 of the show here. So all right, so we should probably talk about the palate and the finish on this one, Matt.
Yeah.
Wait. Yeah, I'll throw it to Matt because Ashley went with the nose. So Matt, what do you get in terms of the palate and the finish on this one?
So the EJ Curley single barrel, and this one was what was the proof on this one, Mark?
122.9, I think is what it is.
122.9. All right.
122.9.
122.9.
This, so I think the small batch does a really good job of drinking a little bit above the proof of 95. I think it packs a little bit more punch, but at the same time, the small batch is certainly not overbearing to people who might be a little bit shy of proof points. I think this single barrel 122.9 doesn't drink that high, but it certainly comes up a step from the small batch, and rightfully so it should. I think a lot of the flavors that I picked up on the palate from the small batch, they're kind of there in sort of like a backbone sense, but it strays away from it. So there's definitely like a nice spicy cinnamon or black pepper or something like right on the front of the palate that isn't just like heat temperature spicy, but it's got those good spicy flavors. It really wakes up the palate. Then from there, it goes into something that I pick up. It's almost like a little, I don't want to, like a little vegetal or like savory, almost like a ginger or some sort of like a, like bell pepper. Sometimes we talk about that, but like an earthy, like habanero or some sort of like a vegetal note to it. That's really, really nice before a nice long finish. Those vanillas, oak really comes through, and there's almost, I get some herbal notes. I think some of the high rye, the like minty flavor, some of that black peppercorn, maybe some like light baking spices really come through with the finish.
Yeah. I think, like up front, I kind of get almost a, the caramel apple suckers. You get that bright pop of the green apple, but then it goes straight into that rich caramel. And then that visual, kind of like a roasted red pepper, is what I'm getting on there. Then evolves into a little more tobacco, total toasted baking spices, kind of whole clove notes in there. And it just keeps going. It's got a really long finish. I love a good long finish.
Yeah, it definitely does. And it's at 122.9, it doesn't have, I mean, it's higher proof, but it doesn't like, blow your socks off, right? I mean, it's I don't want to say it's an easy drinker, but this is one, well, I've already poured my second round.
Yeah, easy enough for you.
Yeah, so first round of it went down pretty smooth. So
yeah, it sneaks up on you because you don't realize, and that's 100. It doesn't drink. It's 123. It does not drink that. And I found a lot of our single barrels do run in that 120 to 130 range. They do come off very high, but they do not drink that. I saw one the other day that was 115, and I was like, that's kind of an oddity, but it's delicious, so that's all that matters.
That's all that matters, right? So now you guys, we got some exciting stuff going on here in Lexington. This comes out Friday, so this is the 15th. So the Lexington Bourbon Week is going on. And you all are really, really involved with that. You're the presenting sponsor, is that right?
Yeah, EJ Curley is the presenting sponsor at Lexington Bourbon Week. And we have been bebopping all over Lexington. I have found so many new little spots that I want to go back to, that it's such a great event that, man, I can't say enough good stuff about it. So we're going into, this comes out on Friday, so that'll be our last weekend of it. We started last weekend. We did a kickoff event with Liquor Barn. And I did a bottle signing and event, and it was great. We got to meet lots of people. But the Lexington Bourbon Week has this really cool app that you download, and we have over 20 restaurants and bars that are participating. And so you can go through the app or check out the Chevy Chaser, I guess it's the November November edition, has a whole spread about Bourbon Week and lists all the cocktails that are entered. So you can go through and look at the cocktails, pick out the ones you want to try, and then it's geolocated. So once you're at the establishment, you can go in there and vote for it. You click that you've had it. It gives you a little passport stamp. It's very satisfying. You get a big green check. Cool. Nice. I mean, it's like the boozy Pokemon Go. It's very addicting. I was looking at where all I'm going to be. Ooh, I get to get a check there. So anyways, you go, you check, you rate your cocktail. After you have checked for at least 5 cocktails, you actually get entered into the grand prize, which is a blending session with me and 3 of your friends at Trifecta, and a glass blowing session.
Wow, no way.
Which I absolutely am going to join into. So you get to have a really cool blending session with me. I'm going to break down blending. We're going to talk about some different techniques and how all of that comes together to create a bourbon. And then we're going to go, and I personally am going to try to blow a whiskey glass, a nice little tasting glass for the house. I don't know that it'll be successful, but I'm sure going to try.
Yeah, well, hopefully people listening to this come to Lexington. We're here. Matt and I are here in Lexington. Obviously, we love living here, and we had the whole last month was all Lexington distilleries. Mm-hmm. So we had Amir Pay on, and he and I talked a lot about Lexington and visitation. Barry Brenniger was on as well with RD1. Mm-hmm. We just want to encourage people to come to Lexington. So this is another great reason. You guys hear this on Friday, take the day off, take the afternoon off, come to Lexington, hang out, go to the different, I think it's like 20 different spots. Is that right?
It is. It's 20 plus, and download the app. We're on the App Store and Google and the Play Store. And there's actually a map of Lexington that has every site on it. So you can kind of plan where you want to go by location or by drink, which is kind of how I do it.
Gotcha.
I'll go through because we have lovely, amazing pictures from each location with the cocktail they've entered and the ingredients, kind of what it is. And I have to say, I do have some favorites so far. And
now, if you tell us, will that skew the marketplace if you tell us, or do you want to? I think you should probably at least tell us one or two.
I can. So I will tell you two that I absolutely have enjoyed. And these are just on my palate. I think there are some other amazing ones, but my personal favorites are the Rack House Tavern. I think it's the Curley Campfire. It is so good, and they use single barrel, so it's barrel strength. It's so nice. Good. And then the Bourbon Paddock Club has a really nice take on a sidecar.
Okay.
With EJ Curley as well.
I've been out of town so much, unfortunately, with work and other stuff, and I just haven't been here. I was in Nashville this weekend. I was in Louisville last week when all this came out. I was in Atlanta yesterday and today. So I haven't been out, and I feel terrible. But Barrel 53, right, at Hotel Lex, they're friends of mine, and they've got the spicy smoke show, I think is what they call theirs or something, and that looked really good. So
there's
I'm gonna
so
have to
many.
try to make it. Yeah,
and for me, so I have two small children. I don't get out much. We joke that I live under a rock, and I live out here in Bergen. We just don't go anywhere. But this is a really great opportunity, especially for those of us who live under a rock, to get out and experience Lexington in places that we might not otherwise realize they're there. I've absolutely found some new little spots. I'm like, hey, next time we do get a date night, next time we get to go out, places we can take the kids, places maybe my husband and I, if we can ever escape, go have a nice cocktail and a dinner and really experience it. And I otherwise may not have ever tried them. So this is a great opportunity to experience Lexington. Even if you are familiar with Lexington, you've been there before, it's a great way to explore it and to try new things.
Yeah, also a great way to see the versatility in EJ Curley, right? With all the different cocktails and flavors that have come around.
Yeah, so we always, before Lexington Bourbon Week, I had a few ways that I really enjoyed EJ Curley in a cocktail. I love a good paper plane. I think it works really well with a lot of citrusy notes. But I also like to do, and I don't have a name for it. I'm sure there's a name for it. I'll take like a tea bag and soak it in a 750 overnight with a little bit of sugar, and then I use that in my lemonade. So it's like a Arnold Palmer kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. And, like a boozy Arnold Palmer, right?
Yeah, but it's so good, and it's a great way to enjoy a nice, refreshing cocktail, especially if it's hot. And so those are just kind of my go-to. I like a whiskey sour. Again, we fall in that citrusy note, but I have now. I mean, the Curley Campfire is not playing off those citrus notes, and it is just delightful. So.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out. I'm gonna have to make some time, and I've got a few days left here, so we'll have to go out and check that out. But actually, I was gonna say,
I sent you.
I will, but if you guys come to Lexington, I have a feeling that there's somebody that is upstairs right now who would gladly take those two little boys and entertain them for a few hours. So I'm not going to say for sure that Mrs. Bourbon Life, I'm not going to commit her to that, but I have a suspicion that she would probably gladly offer her services to watch your boys while you guys do that.
We appreciate that. I think it's funny. I've had a few offers like, hey, if you need to do, I've done a lot of media spots this weekend. I think I have been on TV more than I ever have in my life. I don't know if I was ever on TV, honestly, before. I mean, I've been in shows that were filmed, but never just live TV. And I've done it multiple times the last 2 weeks. So,
well, that's awesome. That's great. You deserve that too. I mean, I think, and I know that's not who you are. I know, it's not what you're necessarily comfortable with, but I think it's great that people are getting to know who you are because of what you've done and what you've done for years. And I just think it's great that people are starting to recognize that and acknowledge it, Ashley. So I'm excited for you. I really am. Yeah. I think it's
absolutely
great.
Been fun. And it's weird being recognized, but it's also really cool. And one of the fun things we talked about, my boys, they actually came to Liquor Barn last Friday and got to see, mommy working. The little one, he didn't care. I mean, he's 8 months old. But the big one's starting to see, like, wow, why do people want you to write on their bottle? So one day you'll understand. So.
Yeah. I've got a single barrel. Fortunately I had 2 single barrels. So this one was open, so I didn't have to crack the other one that you signed for me and talked about how wonderful the Bourbon Life is. So that one's still sealed up. So, but yeah, I mean, it's great that you get that opportunity. You get to do that and people want that, so because you're creating great products, and you're just such a good person. And that's a great combination to have. I mean, seriously, I mean, it really is. And I think people are recognizing that now. And I think it's wonderful. So, all right, guys, let's talk a little bit about, I mean, that's the thing,
I like to meet everybody.
It's fun. Yeah. It's like, you're the type of person I feel like you never met a stranger, right? I mean, like people come up and want to talk about bourbon and stuff and you're going to talk to them. And that's what I love about you is the fact that you make people feel comfortable. You always make time for people. And I think that's great. Cause I've seen you at bottle signings and the way you interact and just kind of talk to people. You don't talk down to them. You don't, you listen to them and you share your experiences with them. And I think it's wonderful. So I appreciate that very much. Yeah, you're welcome.
That's what makes it fun. I love to hear everybody's stories and then get to share my bourbon with them and be like, hey, this is good stuff too. Check it out.
Definitely. So let's talk a little bit about the future of EJ Curley. I mean, is there anything going on currently, anything coming up that you'd like to, that you can, I mean, we don't want to do anything taboo that we got to cut out, but is there anything coming up that you can talk about that you'd like to share with us?
There's nothing really set in stone right now. The biggest thing is that we will be distilling in 2025 is the plan. Awesome. Making the transition for the blending house to kind of be our home base. And, we're really, I'm traveling a lot more. We are spreading the good word about EJ Curley and we are expanding our footprint, sharing it with more states. For the first little bit, we really wanted to just own our backyard and we're only available in Kentucky. And now we're available in, I think, 4 states. We do ship to 48 states. But as far as on the shelf, we're in 4, and we've got a couple more states on board, I believe, coming 2025. And so, that's kind of where our focus is right now, is growing the brand, really getting the word out there, getting in front of people, because that's everything. The brand's amazing. The history is just phenomenal. But the real magic, I think, is when people finally get to taste it. And see what all the hype's about.
Yeah, and I agree. 2 years ago we got to taste it. We didn't really get to talk a lot about the brand itself because we were, focused on all the things that you do, which was great. It was a great show. Enjoyed doing that. But it's nice to sit down and actually get to focus just on the EJ Curley brand, learn about the history of EJ Curley himself, but also of the brand. and the decision to resurrect it. You know, I was going to ask you earlier, the EJ Curley, is that old script kind of looking stuff? Is that just something you guys came up with, or is that anything from the past?
I think there was just kind of a nod to his Irish history.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I got you.
So nothing really tied to it.
Okay.
And, you know, the
if
label
it was
might
like an
evolve.
old label or okay. Yeah. The bottles are beautiful. I mean, they're
gorgeous.
Those nice, big, fancy, tall, you know, but I mean, I call them the BTAC bottles. I mean, I don't know what else to call them, but you know, the very tall, slender bottles, but the labeling on it, this embossed gold and blue. I mean, it's a really nice bottle. It stands out on a shelf. When you see this, you know what you're looking at, right? So, and bartenders can grab it, right? It's easy to grab.
It's easily,
nice long neck.
grabbable.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, we're almost at the end of the round. So I always like to ask my guest, Ashley, what has been your favorite part of this journey for you so far?
The people. I think the people are as varied as the bourbons that we drink, and they're as unique as every single barrel I've ever seen. And I've seen a lot. And I think, you know, there's so many just genuinely good people. You two are absolutely some of the best. And I enjoy every minute I get to hang out with y'all and talk to you. Not just on the podcast, as you mentioned, we run into each other all the time. But, you know, the industry as a whole and our consumers, our fans, they're like family. They're extended family. There are some that I see every year at Bourbon Festival. There's a group that travels from St. Louis, and the second I see them, you know, it's like that long lost friend you haven't seen in years. We all get excited and giddy and run up and hug each other. Mm-hmm. And it's all around our bourbon. And I think that's the absolute best of all the things. Getting to make bourbon's great. Getting to taste and create and use science and history and math every day is just a dream come true for me. But more than that is absolutely the people.
That's awesome. But, you know, there's a lot of people out there, Ashley, they're like, math and science would be like a living nightmare for them on a daily. And I will say I'm one of those people because those are not my strong suits, Ashley. So thankful for people like you that love to do it. For sure.
100%.
So what does the future look like then for EJ Curley? What do you think? What's going on?
I think you're going to start seeing a lot more of us. Seeing it everywhere. Hopefully we continue to grow and expand, and we become everybody's house bourbon. We're just as common as any of those other guys you see. They get enough time. We don't need to talk about that.
Very nice. So you talked about you're available in Kentucky and a few other states. And can people buy it online as well? Is that what you said?
Yes.
They can get shipped? Okay.
Yeah,
so
we ship to 48 states.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Is that through the website then? Is that where they can find? Okay. Do you know what the address is? I forgot what it is. Is it EJCurley.com? Okay. That's simple enough.
Yeah, I have something sitting right here that I bet has it on there. Okay, maybe not. Never mind.
I'm pretty sure it is. If you Google search EJCurley.com,
I'm pretty sure.
I think so.
Lucky 7's the one that's a little off. A little different.
Gotcha. And you guys are on social media as well, so people can find stuff.
Yeah, check us out. Check us out on social media. Sure. EJ Curley Co. On social media, both Facebook and Instagram. I'm on there as Ashley Barnes MB. And you can see all kinds of fun pictures. I don't just post pictures about bourbon. You never know what you're going to see.
If you want to follow the boys, you know.
Fun bourbon stuff, adventures, and random kid adventures. Because, I mean, life with two boys, you never know.
Yeah, you're outnumbered.
Yeah,
very much so.
A husband and two boys, man. You're in a losing proposition there, Ashley. I'm sorry to say.
All our dogs are girls, though. I have them.
Oh, okay. All right. So you got them. My mom was in the same situation. You know, had a husband and two boys, so she didn't stand a chance. But she was a wonderful person. So just like you are. So it takes a strong woman to raise two good sons, right? So there you go.
Yeah, they make us good.
So any final thoughts before we wrap up tonight here, Ashley?
I think if you haven't tried EJ Curley, please give it a shot. I think you will be pleasantly surprised if you're thinking of dipping your toes into the bourbon world. You want to start learning and experiencing it. EJ Curley small batch is a wonderful way to start. If you're maybe an intermediate and you want to start dipping your toes into some barrel strength, and you want to confidently not be taken aback by the very high proof, definitely give us a shot. We've got single barrels all over, lots of barrel picks out there. Anywhere, Liquor Barn, Total Wines, lots of stores, and spread the word.
Yeah, for sure. Matt, any final thoughts before we wrap it up tonight, man?
Ashley, thank you for taking the time out of your evening. Sit down with us, chat with Mark and myself, and also all of our listeners out there. So great to catch up with you, as always. Let's not make it another 2 years and 2 days before we do this again.
Yes. You guys come out to the blending house.
We'll be there.
We will do that for sure. We will definitely do that, Ashley. We appreciate you taking the time. I know you've had a super busy week. A lot of things going on, especially with your boys and stuff. So just appreciate you taking the time on short notice too, because we put this together pretty quick, and I really appreciate
Monday night.
I know 2-day turnaround. That's pretty quick. So thank you so much for
awesome.
your willingness to do this. We really appreciate that, and it's always great, even virtually, to get to hang out with you, Ashley. So thank you so much for doing that. Excited for you, excited for Monica, what you guys are doing, excited for the EJ Curley brand. I mean, you're just putting out some great stuff here, and we're really excited to see where you guys take this. And I think it's going to be great. It is great whiskey, and the more people find it, then obviously it's going to be so much better for you guys. And it's just, we're going to do our part to help you, because believe in what you're doing. So thank you for joining us tonight. And again, like Matt said, it won't be 2 years before we get you back on the show. I promise you that. So
I'll hold you to it.
All right. That sounds great. Well, with that said, I'm going to wrap it up here and send us home. We are the Bourbon Life Podcast, presented by Liquor Barn. We appreciate their support and the support of all of our sponsors. Could not bring you this show every week without all of their help. So thank you to all of our sponsors. Like Matt always says as well, whatever time of day it is to get your Bourbon Life fix, morning, noon, or night, we appreciate you taking the time to listen to us. We do the show for you guys. So if you want to leave us some comments or have some suggestions for the show, please email us at thebourbonlife@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook as well at The Bourbon Life. We've also got the private Facebook group called The Bourbon Lifers. We'd love to have you join us in there. We got some fun conversations going on, so check that out. Don't forget about our friend Big Mike, Big Chief, doing the whiskey trip. He also comes out every Tuesday under our umbrella. So you can find him if you follow the Bourbon Life Podcast. You will get his podcast every Tuesday. He's also on Instagram and Facebook as The Whiskey Trip. So check him out. With that said, I'm going to wrap it up. Send us home with our tagline, which is, may your glasses always be full, and may you keep on living the Bourbon Life.
Thank you for joining us for this week's episode of the Bourbon Life Podcast. Our mission at the Bourbon Life is simple: to share our passion for all things bourbon with you every week. And we'd really love to hear your thoughts on how we're doing. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at The Bourbon Life. You can also contact us by email at thebourbonlife@gmail.com. And you can always find us on your favorite podcast platform. If you have a moment, we'd love it if you would rate us and give us a review. So until next week, we hope your glass is always full and that you keep on living the Bourbon Life.
Welcome to the kitchen table at James B. Beam Distilling Company, where every visit is a celebration of tradition and flavor. Did you know that the kitchen table is nestled right within the heart of the distillery? That's right. You can experience the essence of James B. Beam's legacy while savoring their delectable dishes. Join them every Wednesday through Sunday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. for a culinary journey like no other. Planning a special event? Let the kitchen table be your host, creating unforgettable memories for you and your guests. And don't miss their exclusive Behind the Beam tour and monthly Claremont Supper Club events, which will feature the 2024 Distillers Share releases at the November event. For more information and reservations, visit beamdistilling.com. The kitchen table at James B. Beam Distilling Company. Come as a friend, leave as family.